hear me? Thumbs up. Woo, we got it. Okay, friends, let's lie down. And when you lie down, you want to make sure that you can rest with your head level. And by that, I mean when you look up, you're looking straight up in the sky. You're not looking back behind you, and you're not looking down the front of your nose. So people who might find that they're looking back behind you, you might like a blanket and you put it under your head. I just kind of like having a little layer there anyway. It really relaxes my neck and my shoulders. So you might try it too. But just watch that it doesn't make your chin tuck. So I feel that happening a little bit. So I'm just going to put my head down for now. Okay, and you can start, please, with the feet, the soles of the feet, hip width apart, and then just lean the knees in slightly just till they rest. They don't have to rest against each other, but just you don't have to hold them in place. They just kind of lean in a little bit. So we could call this posture constructive rest. And please observe or scan your body, just noticing feet placed on the floor, the legs bent. Notice the way your upper thigh bones sink into the hip socket here. Turn your heels out just slightly and lean the knees in a little more. And if this pinches your groin at all, just attend, maybe move the knees a little wider or the feet a little wider. And so again, take your feet out a little wider, lean the knees in again until they just maybe want to touch. And again, notice the inner thigh and the outer thigh, how the thigh bone sets or sinks into the hip socket. Notice the position of your tailbone and your pubic bone. And bring your attention to the rib cage. Breathe deeply and notice how many of your back ribs can you feel on the ground. And do you notice some of your back ribs maybe at the very lowest rib cage that are not touching the ground? Perhaps they are touching the ground there. And notice the upper ribs closer to the shoulders and the neck, and notice these. How much or how much can you feel the ground? Are the ribs touching the ground or not? Just notice now. Also notice the distribution of weight from side to side, one side of the spine and the other. Notice the backs of the arms touching the ground or perhaps not touching. Bring the attention to the back of the skull where it meets the ground, the earth. Good. So can we make a mental note to remember, or a physical note, snapshot of this moment, so that perhaps we can be aware of whatever shifts or whatever changes or what the yoga practice does for us today. All right. So have another deep breath or two. Good. Now bring the soles of the feet just hip width apart again and walk the heels pretty close into the hips. Just pretty close, maybe a hand length away, right? Like you could measure a hand length away. And then reach the arms up into the sky, up above your head, and look straight up in the sky. So you're kind of looking beyond your thumbs there. And have the arms placed shoulder distance apart, straight up and down if you can. Sense and feel where the head of the arm bone is, just like we did the head of the thigh bone. The inner armpit and the outer shoulder can help you visualize where the head of your humerus bone is. A lot of times problems in the shoulders or the wrists have to do with what's happening in the shoulder joint itself and the head of the arm bone and the nerves that run through the joint, like that. And so if the arm bone or the collarbone are displaced or just out of alignment, that can put a lot of pressure on the nerves. So just doing this, just holding our arms up straight. If there's any tingling, gonna lift or widen your arms a little bit and see if you can come out of that tingling. Now bring your attention to the inner armpit and lift the inner armpit up. So the head of the arm bone lifts, and then drop the head of the arm bone down into the earth, like you're trying to slide your arm bone into the socket. Reach up and slide the head of the arm bone into the socket. Feel the shoulder blades pressing against the ground. Reach up, notice the shoulder blades gliding to the sides of your ribs. Sink the inner armpit, the head of the arm bone back. Do that a few times. Reach and settle. Reach. You might even be able to feel not just the head of the arm bone moving, but also how it moves in relationship to the collarbone. When the head of the arm bone and the collarbone press against each other too tightly, this can cause a lot of nerve issue. All right, and not only can it cause tingling, but it's the arm and the collarbone are bones that are part of the brachial plexus area, and the brachial plexus is the nerve plexus that not only, let's settle the arms down, not only feeds to our arms, but the brachial plexus. It's our breathing plexus. Okay, so Pam, just what you mentioned before, information is kind of coming through right now that if we have compression and misalignment in the front of the chest, that can affect the brachial plexus nerves, which are feeding to the lungs and the breathing. So I think today's will really help. Okay, so one more time, everybody, up into the sky, reach your arms out of the sockets, put the arms back in the sockets, and then bend your elbows wide and lay the backs of the hands down. So this might already feel like a big stretch. If you're getting any tingling, you want to get off that nerve. So move your arm around until you come off the tingling. Good. Now sense and feel the inner armpit, and it's kind of lifted. See if you can melt down or drop down through the inner armpit. And have a big breath here, pinning your shoulders and arms into the earth. Big breath in and out. Good, now keep your arms exactly as they are. Look straight up in the sky. Walk your feet into position so that you can press down and lift your hips. Good, keep the big toes down, pressing through the center of the heel, the big toe and the little toe. Press through the back of the head and the shoulders so that you do not feel the neck on the ground. And keep pinning the inner armpit back. The hips are up, but they don't have to be at their highest. So you're able to sustain the work, pinning the shoulders back, and then lower down one vertebrae at a time. Good. Keep the arms where they are. Have a big breath. Good. Take the arms up into the sky. Reach up. Pull the arm bones back in. Now stretch the arms back behind you. So here you're still retracting the arm bone into the socket as you reach back. There might be a limit point where you can't really bring your arms any further back. Lift them a little from that point and hover the arms there. Sink the inner armpit deep into the socket. Hold it there and perhaps allow the arms to drop back just a little further. If you feel like your armpits are not able to suction back, you've gone too far. Lift the arms a little, suction the armpits in, pull them in, and then maybe stretch back just a little more. Raise the arms up, big breath, and just lay the arms by the side and feel. Perhaps you can roll the tips of the shoulder blades under you a little more. Take the feet outer hip distance now and swish the knees side to side. Good. You can go fast, you can go slow, just getting your body moving, getting your energy moving. Good. Now when you drop the knees down to the right, you can keep them there and stretch your left arm away from you, far away. And raise the arm up a bit off the ground and see if you can sink the armpit back and then lay your arm down again. Big breath in there. And release it, go over to the other side. So with my right arm, you'll be able to see what I mean a little more about the armpits. So when I twist, I start to feel my right armpit, my right shoulder lifting. But then if I stretch away and I lift the arm, I can start to sink my inner armpit even more. Really hollow it out and then lay the arm down. And I really feel just a whole energy through the arm and the upper shoulders and the back of the shoulder. So I'm engaging the muscles inside the armpit and the scapularis, the back of the shoulder blade there. And taking pressure off the front of the chest. All right, and release it. Take the arm back into neutral. Go a bit side to side again. Now we're going to put it all together, the couple of bridge poses. So placing the feet on the floor, hip width apart. This will be the last thing on our backs for now. Take the arms up to the sky, reach up, sink the head of the arm bone back, the inner armpit suctioning in. Look straight up. Now lift your hips, moving them toward the toes. Good, staying there, have a breath, pull the armpits in and reach the arms back. If you get to a point where it starts to get tricky or painful, back off of that and sink the inner armpits back. In fact, let's all lift the arms a bit and pull the inner armpits back again and then stretch the arms back. Lift the hips a little higher, untuck your chin. Have a giant breath here. Keep guiding the knees toward the toes. And exhale everything back down. Lay one hand to your belly, one hand to your heart, and feel. Good. Perhaps you can feel a little more space across the chest, across the inner armpits. Perhaps the shoulders fall toward the earth more easily. Can you feel more of the rib cage on the back, on the ground? All right. And hug your knees up into your chest. And there's going to be a couple of choices. You can roll to your side to come up, or you can rock and roll until you can just come on up into Your seat, good. So I'm sorry my screen is dark, and that's my challenge in this house with my lighting. I hope you can see me. It looks dark from here. All right, so come onto your hands and knees. And maybe it's not dark for you, I don't know. It's my screen light. I will have a tech lesson with Pam, and she will help me. All right, onto the hands and knees, everybody. Let's get our energy moving. Now here on hands and knees, push your hands into the earth and notice how your back lifts toward the sky a bit. Draw your navel line in, but then bring the armpits in toward your back body. So you sink the chest a little bit. Firm the shoulder blades on your back. Good, now we can walk the knees closer, reach the right leg back over the earth, float it over the earth. Have a breath there and see if you can add your left arm. Good, lift the left inner armpit to lift the arm higher. Lift your right inner thigh and feel the buttocks engage. Stretch the leg and arm away from each other, even pointing the toes, and lower the hand and knee back down. Try it out on the other side. Left leg reach back. Inner thigh is lifting, not the outer hip so much. So you should feel your buttocks engaging. Right arm forward, and here you can see on my right arm, lift the inner armpit and the arm will go higher. Keep breathing, lift the left inner thigh. Lift the waistline so you're avoiding any low back sagging, and point your toes, reach through toes and fingers, lower down. Now you're going to do that walking in place. So it's right leg, left arm, and then lower down at the end of your exhale. Inhale, left leg, right arm. Really stretch it out and then lower down. Right leg, left arm, lift from inner armpit, inner thigh, lower. Don't rush. Left leg, right arm. Coordinating here on opposite sides of the body. Right leg, left arm. So we're getting our brain coordination going. Left leg, right arm. So we have the two sides of the brain, right leg, left arm. And then we have the center, the corpus callosum. Yeah, left leg, right arm. And so we're helping stimulate the communication from side to side. Right leg, left arm. Are you still with me? Good, last one. Left leg, right arm. Beautiful. Come down onto your forearms, elbows under shoulders, interlace your fingers, and just let your head bow to the earth. Hips can sway side to side. So we have postures that bring up heat. We have postures that bring coolness. This is more of a cooling posture, yeah? We're on the forearms. Tuck your, walk your forearms in a tiny bit so when you press out with your arms, your skin is taut there. You're not sliding the elbows away, and they're right under your shoulder heads. Good, now center your knees under your hips, look towards your hands. Push the elbows and the wrists into the earth. Notice the chest lifts a little. Keep that strength, but draw the head of the arm bone back into the armpit. So if you want to see me do it, I'm pressing, I'm rounding here, get the belly strength, but then I soften the upper back and the arm bones sink into the sockets. Now I'll lift the head a bit to engage the core. Walk your feet back and come into your low plank. Gather your pelvic floor in and up, gather your belly towards your heart, and breathe. Try to send breath up into your back body, all the way up through the lungs to the collarbones, inner armpits back. And then lay your hips down, lay your legs down, crawl your arms forward, and bow your head toward the earth. You can have the forehead on the earth. The hands are forward for a moment, giving you a little stretch in the armpits. Okay, now bring your hands so that the diamond, the thumbs and the fingers make a diamond. Point through your toes. Rest your forehead on the diamond. Lift your right inner leg, lift the whole leg, but you want to lift from the right inner thigh. Keep your tailbone down, your hip down, and lower the right leg. Lift the left leg. Keep your hips down, your tail down. Lift from the inner thigh, put it down. Right leg, lift your head, lift your left inner armpit, lift your arm. Put everything down. Left inner thigh, left leg, head, right inner armpit, right arm. Staying up for a breath. Lift the inner armpit and come down, rest. Good, now pointing through the toes and the tail, firm up your leg muscles, a little bit of the buttocks muscles, draw the belly in and lift your head. Slide from the inner armpits, pull the hands next to your heart. Lift your inner armpits. That's all we're doing, pressing with your hands and your feet and your tail. Lift your inner armpits to rise higher, maybe all the way up into your back bend. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, and press into downward facing dog. All right, so hands could be parallel on the ground now. Or I should say the wrist crease is parallel. How we doing getting up off the ground? In downward dog, pressing through the fingers, broaden your inner armpits and draw the inner armpits in toward the back body. So you feel like your arm bones are sinking into the shoulder sockets. You can walk your feet apart or a little closer, whatever you need to do. Straighten into the left leg and push into the right hand, working the diagonal again. And sink into the right heel, press into your left hand, working that diagonal again. So good for our brains. Left leg, right arm. Right leg, left arm, pressing. Good, and let's walk all the way to the front of the mat, coming into your forward fold. We're here. Notice how in forward fold, the shoulders fall, the head of the arm bone falls to the ground. Good, let's cross the arms, hold the elbows, and allow for that falling of the arms into gravity. As we're stretching out the backs of the legs, you might need to bend your knees a bit. Sink the inner thigh back a little further. Sink the inner thighs, that's it. Feel broadening across the low back perhaps. To come up, bring the hands to the hips, lift the inner armpits so shoulder blades come on your back and push down with a big breath, rise up. Hands together in front of the heart. Yes. Bring the shoulders forward and then bring the head of the arm bone back so you can feel the difference. Bring the arms forward like we did when we were lying on the back. Reach the arms forward, see the arms move out of the socket and pull the inner armpits back, stretch up, big stretch. Reach back through your thumbs. Feel the armpits stretch. Exhale, fold to the earth. Lift the inner armpit as you lift your chest. Look out and fold again. Rise all the way up. Bring the inner armpit back and then take the arms to the sky. Bring hands to the heart. Do that a couple more times. I need to braid my hair. You're going to reach up with your arms and fold forward, Uttanasana. Lift halfway, lift from the inner armpit. Exhale, bow forward. Inhale, rise all the way up. Take the arm bones back and reach for the sky. And hands to the heart. I'm with you now. Head of the arm bone back. Reach up, stretch up, and exhale, fold. Lift your heart part way. Bow forward again. Head of the arm bone back as you rise up. Reach and stretch, hands to heart. Left hand to hip, right arm up and over to the left. Do it again. Inhale straight up, exhale to the left. One more time, straight up, exhale to the left. Change sides, both arms up, right hand to hip, exhale to right. Inhale up, exhale to right. One more time to the center and over to the right. Both arms up, fold forward, step the right foot back, hold your lunge, feet hips width apart. Come up high on your fingertips or even on blocks. Look back behind you so you can see that the ball of the foot is pressing down. Lift through your right inner thigh and drop your tail a little bit. So the right leg is lifting up while the hips are sinking a bit. And there's a strength in the right leg that kind of holds your weight. And stay for another breath. And step forward. And we'll try it out on the other side. Left foot back, setting up hips width. Look back so you can see what's happening. You're on the ball of your left foot and your left inner thigh lifts up into the hips, and then you can sink your tail. You have support from that left leg. You're kind of standing on that left leg straight. Keep breathing. See if you can sink the hips a bit while still lifting the left inner thigh. Soften your jaw as it gets more intense. Step forward, right foot back, right inner thigh lifting into the body. Sit the hips down on that strength. Now slowly bring hands to the hips and rise to balance. Now, of course, some people need to modify. They might have the whole back foot down. You can turn the toes to the side and have the whole foot down, or you can use a chair to help you balance here, right? Lift the right inner thigh and then sit down on that strength. Reach the arms forward, pull the armpits back and stretch the thumbs up and back. Full of breath. Fill and empty. Maybe lower down into it a little bit. Fill and empty. Slowly bring hands to the ground and step to the front of your mat. Change legs. Left foot goes back. You're in the lunge position. Lunge has knee over ankle. Perhaps setting the back heel down. Lifting through your left inner thigh, sit the hips on that inner strength and then slowly peel the hands to the hips. So the hips need something to settle onto to feel stability. You do the inner thigh lift with the left leg and then sit on that strength. Arms forward, shoulder heads back. Reach the thumbs up and back for 3. Deep breaths, 2. Good. Maybe sinking a little lower before you bring your hands down. Now move your legs back behind you, downward face dog. Remember how we were moving the arm bones before. Press really strong and notice the shoulders shrug. Keep the hips high, but then pull the inner armpit wide and into the socket. Bring the big toes together, raise the right leg, inner thigh. Lower slowly. Should feel a nice low belly draw. Left leg up. And lower. Bring the knees down, pull the hips back, child's pose. Keep your arms stretched or bring your hands together to relax the arms more. Come to lying down. You can do that with a reverse push-up or just slither down onto your belly. If you're on a blanket like I am, you want to have the whole pelvis on the blanket or just move it out from under you. Yeah. Bringing the inner thighs together, point through the toes. That should lift your kneecaps. Lift them up. Firm the glutes down away from your waistline and pick up your pelvic floor strength. Take the arms by your side, thumbs down, inner armpits up. Lift your head an inch away from the ground, right leg up. Now swing your left arm forward. Lift through the inner armpit. Hold for 3. Maybe lift a little higher for 2. 1 more breath. Now lower that left arm, lower your head, lower the leg. Let the shoulders drop a moment. Then do the opposite. Lift the armpits, strengthen the legs, lift the kneecap, hug the muscles to the bones, lift the pelvic floor. Da, da, da. Left leg. Come onto the thumbs. Raise the left leg and sweep the right arm forward. Lift from the inner armpit. Lift the head. Lift from the inner thigh, inner armpit. Stay for 3. For 2. For 1. Come on down. Bring your hands next to your heart. Let the shoulders drop. Bring the legs together. Point the toes. Strengthen the legs. Find all the muscles you can along your legs. Your buttocks. Now unclench the buttocks. So they're toned, but you're not gripping. Pull the pelvic floor in. Lift the inner armpits. You should feel that you're already starting to rise. Lift through the back of the skull. Lift your inner armpits. Come up to your back bend. Put a lot of weight through your legs. Tuck your toes, lift your hips, plank, and downward face dog. Crawling out so your hands are placed. Wrist creases parallel. Widen your inner armpits, sink the inner armpits, draw the inner thighs in and out. Okay, big toes together, left leg up, bend the knee, turn the hips to the sky. Now we're going to go in a diagonal underneath left knee to right elbow. Could do these on the knees. Inhale, go up, so especially if this hurts your wrist. Exhale, knee to elbow. 1 more. Zip up your core as you cross over. Good, now just put your left knee down under your hip. Okay, so I'm standing on one knee. Spin the right heel down, raise the right arm up into the sky. Some people might like to find the balance here. Check it out. Lift away from your left inner armpit and sink the inner armpit back until you feel the shoulder blade engage on your back. And then reach away from your tail and your crown. Lower everything back down, child's pose or downward dog. If you're in child's pose, rest. If you're in downward dog, do your alignment. Shrug your shoulders, that presses your hips back. Keep that. Take the inner armpits in. Broad shoulders, shoulder blades firm on your back. Big toes together. If you're on child's pose, you might just come up on your knees. Right leg up, bend the knee, turn the hip to the sky. We're going diagonal 3 times on your exhale, knee to elbow, diagonal. Go up, go across. Go up. Last one, across. Come onto the knee, right knee under hip. Yeah, so this right shoulder, it tends to pull toward your ear, but we're gonna sink the armpit back and then turn. So you might look at my back body, you can see what I'm doing with my shoulder blade, my scapularis muscle. I'm pointing to the action here. Taking that inner armpit back, and then the shoulder blade's on my back, and I can lean into that. I can raise the left inner thigh. Keep breathing, everyone. Whatever you're practicing, whatever you're exploring, keep that breath flowing. Lift away from your right shoulder. Pull the shoulder blade onto your back. Good. Have lots of breath there. And lower down. Coming into child's pose now, everybody. Rise again, downward facing dog or on the knees if you need. All right, left leg gonna step forward between the hands. This time spin the back heel down, so you're heel to heel or maybe a little wider. Take the hands to the hips and rise into warrior one. Interlace the fingers behind your back. An alternative could be holding a strap or belt or just putting your hands on your waistband. When you interlace the fingers, pull the navel line back and then pull your shoulder blades together, extend through the arms, have a big breath here, and bow to the left leg. You can lean on it or lean inside it. Look at your right foot and make sure that right leg is working for you strong before you lean forward. Your head might even rest on a chair or block here. Right inner thigh really awake. Pull it into your pelvis. And lift the inner armpits away from the ground. Beautiful. We'll just release the hands and change legs. Left leg goes back. You can do that on the knees or downward face dog. Right leg up and forward. Spin the back heel, heel to heel or a little wider. Pause. Hands to the hips as you rise. Face the front of your mat. The left inner thigh lifting into the body so you can sit down on that, interlace, and like you have a string, pulling your belly back, move your head back, shoulder blades back, inner armpits are getting a huge stretch back, full of breath, and bow to the right leg. Look back at your left leg, make sure it's working for you. Fire up your left inner thigh and suction it in towards your core. Lift your inner armpits to the sky. Oh, I know that takes a lot of upper back awareness. It's really great to open up the awareness in those muscles. Taking the arms up. Release the hands to the ground. Yay, and let's step to the front of the mat and bow. Walk your hands a little to the right. Very gently, maybe bend your right knee. Oh, yeah, feel that. Good, switch sides. Hands to the left, and then maybe bending your left knee a bit. Oh, yeah. Sound effects help me sometimes. Back to the center. How does that forward fold feel after you did those two side stretches? All right. Okay, now I love this next one because it's such an all-in-oneer. You might need a block. Take your right foot back to the back of the mat and spin so your feet are facing the long side of the mat and parallel the edges of your feet. So the outer edges are parallel and then the inner heel kind of kicks out a bit. Suction cup your feet to the ground and you can have your hands on a block or the floor. Good. If this bothers your back in any way, bend the knees more. Sink the inner thighs back more. You might need to bend your knees to be able to hollow your groins like that. And then begin to press down as you keep your inner thighs hollow back there. Pressing down, the legs will straighten more. Come up onto your fingertips and see if you can shrug your shoulders up away from your ears. So you're making your neck feel longer. If you can't get much shoulder action, come up higher and put your hands on blocks and find those upper back muscles. Squeeze the shoulder blades toward each other and the shoulder heads will lift. So you notice space across the back of the neck and shoulders. So the shoulders are lifting against gravity as the chest and head fall. Keep turning the inner thighs back through your legs. Walk the right hand forward and take the left hand underneath to the right leg and hold on in a bit of a twist there. Change hands, left hand is forward, right hand reaches under to the left outer leg and holds on there. Get the left shoulder blade on your back there, firm it up. It's a muscle that will activate. If you press with all 5 finger pads, you'll feel the shoulder blade activate more. Notice those lines of communication. And then both hands forward, hips are up over the ankles, really stretching the legs here. Now push into your feet so you can slide your hands under your shoulders, lift your chest part way. Turn the toes out and bend the right knee toward the right ankle, and center and left knee to left side. And you go side to side. You can walk your feet out a little more if you like. You can lower the hips more if you like. So walking it out side to side. Good, and then walking the feet back into a neutral position. Yes. And you can bring your knees down to the ground again. And turn so the hands are forward. Your knees are on your blanket or your mat. And again, find your child's pose. Yes, after all that leg motion, just tucking it in. And slide your hips to one side. And you're going to come back to seated position. All right, I'm going to face you. Yeah, so it's a little easier to just do these off the blanket. We're going to do some ab core work and also crossing midline. So it can get a little confusing because we are crossing our midlines, right to left, left to right, all that. So we'll see how that all works. So hold on to the front of the knees, walk the feet pretty close and sit up tall. Okay, now the head of the arm bone back. See, so I'm not letting my shoulders round. I'm moving the head of the arm bone back, and then I'm going to tip my weight until my toes come off the ground. Tap your toes together and glue them together. So now as you glue your legs together, you might get lighter with your hands. You might not. You might have to hold on still. Do what works for you. So if you're keeping your hand on the knee to give you support, keep your left hand there and see if you can just raise your right arm out. And then hold with the right and raise your left arm out to the side. Good. And now we're back in. So again, squeeze the legs together and maybe you can do both arms. Keep the elbows bent. Lift the elbows as shoulder high and bring the inner armpits back. Maybe go back a little further. Keep squeezing the legs together. Great. And lower down. Okay, that's pretty good, huh? Okay, so now this one is a little more free form. We're going to set that same form up, but then we're going to be kind of moving our arms across the midline as if we're moving through water. You know, if you tread water, something like this, moving. So maybe practice the arm movement before we lift the legs. So it's just a sliding. I'm turning my hands like I would in water, just feeling crossing over the midline. So my elbow comes across, then cross, cross, cross. Okay, so hold on to the knees. Lift the chest, walk back until you can click your big toes together and you get your belly fired up. Take it out of the inner pelvis by putting it in the low belly. Yeah. So the strain is not in your inner hip flexors. Push the legs together. Good. All right, now start the arm motion. Oh yeah, this is where it gets intense. If you need a hold with one, do that. Yeah, don't go too fast. You want to imagine you're moving through water. Crossing the midline. Oh yeah. Okay, getting challenging. Good. And stop. Feet together, knees wide. Inner thighs sink. Inner armpits back. Lift your heart. Relax your jaw. Good. So this last one is more like free form. Yeah, like the arms want to move the opposite pacing or the opposite way of each other. It's hard to do it looking in my video. Okay, and then you can do the same with the legs. Oh, it's kind of hard to describe. It's easier to just see it and try it out. Now, if this is going into your low back, you might hold on. You might just hold on, right? And so that you're supporting your low back. Or you might put your feet down. See if I can get my arms doing the opposite thing again. All right, swimming in space. Whew. And pause. Pause to feel. Take your right hand to the left shoulder. Move the arm bone back. Bring the left hand behind you and just look back. Use your right hand to push your left shoulder back a bit more. And back to center. Left hand to left shoulder. Push the arm bone back. Bring the right hand behind you. Look behind you. So notice as your right arm pushing forward, move it back. Good. And then back to center. So the shoulders should feel more broad, more spacious in the front. Hopefully that's happening for you. Come lie down now. Lying down again. All right, if you have a block, it could be helpful to have it on either side to hold your knees when we come into a twist like this. If you don't have blocks, you could make a big pile of pillows or a rolled up blanket, something like that. Feet on the floor, arms out like a T, inner armpits sink back. In order to do that, there's an engagement in the upper back. Walk the feet together and shift your hips over to your left. Feet together, shift your hips over to your right. Okay, so you're more on the left hip. Right knee over. Okay, now slowly start to lower your knee. Maybe you can prop it on a block so you're not in too deep a twist. Raise your right arm up, sink the inner armpit, and then stretch the arm away from you. You can let your head roll to the left to stretch away from that right arm. Perhaps you want to lower the block that you're leaning on because your right shoulder is relaxing and your hip, and you want to come down a little more. Unwind the legs, bring the knees up and the feet on the floor and center your hips. And just take a moment to notice the right and the left sides. How much of your body is touching the earth? Sorry, you might hear some construction going on out there. All right, so other side, feet together. Now shift the hips to the left, so you're more on your right hip, yeah? Cross the left knee over right. And then slowly, slowly sink your hips. This is a little tight for me on this side, so I'm actually gonna prop up higher to start, so I can just keep my left shoulder down. Now raise the left arm to the sky and sink the inner armpit, and then reach that arm away, stretching the armpit, stretching the front of the chest with breath. Send a lot of breath into your chest area, your brachial plexus area. Again, if you get tingling, you've got to come out of it. Reposition the arm bone in the socket. So as you're breathing here, you might let your head just fall to the right a little more. You might find that you can come a little bit lower onto the block. If that's too much, prop up higher. I need like an in-between to really give me the right height. Another thing to do is to just unwind the legs when you're in your stretch, and that could also help you back off of the intensity. And then release it. Roll back onto your back. And just lowering the arms down by your side. You can move the block out of the way. We're winding down now. Is there anything you might like to do that we haven't covered today? You might like happy baby pose. You might like a hip stretch. Do what comes naturally to you right now. Listen to your inner teacher. Some people call it that small silent voice. Some call it their inner knowing, their intuition, whatever it is. Tune into your inner teacher. Some people call it their heart or their gut. Like, I knew it in my heart, or I knew it in my gut. Okay, just trust your inner teacher here and finish your practice. Balancing yourself out. If there's one side that you did and you need to move to the other, do that. The yoga tradition is such that there is teacher and student, but ultimately we are all the student of the teacher. And the teacher lives within each of us as the inner teacher, the teacher within, the one. And so we are many in each individual, and we are one. Let's unwind from whatever we're doing, okay? And come back to that constructive rest position that we established in the very beginning. Notice what you are, well, let's say, take note of what you are aware of right now. Sometimes things that come up are not exactly feel good, like, I am clenching my jaw, or, oh, I feel a little imbalanced now. Okay, that doesn't mean it's wrong. It just means there's imbalance in your nervous system, sensory nervous system. Sometimes the feet are even, but they feel unbalanced to us, right? So sometimes we're so used to our asymmetry that it's difficult to feel balanced when we are more open and more symmetrical. So constructive rest. Perhaps you can recall the snapshot we took at the beginning, noticing the parts of us that are connected to the earth and that do touch the earth, and that which does not or do not. There are many ways to rest for our relaxation time, for our Shavasana time. It's a meditation in stillness. The body may shift, some things may shift, the mind, but the idea is to rest in stillness. And some bodies have a really hard time with that. Yeah, so let's come into stillness. You can stretch your legs out or just place the feet on the floor a little wider so your knees can rest in. Make sure you're comfortably supported. You might need to put something under your legs to really make it supportive. Tuck your shoulder blades in, turn your palms open. And be in restful stillness now. Restful stillness. And when it's time to arise, you'll hear the bell. Now enjoy time to relax and rest. Take your time. If you need more time in Shavasana, please take it. When you're ready, begin to move slowly. Roll onto your side. Again, taking your own time when you're ready. Slowly rise up and find your comfortable seat. Often when we're seated on the floor, the body tends to round and protect the front body or overextend the back body. Sit up high enough that your thighs come down, your inner thighs soften down, and your inner armpits can move back. Your head can slightly move back. Chin is level with the earth. Let's sit for just a few breaths in the quiet. Close by bringing your hands together in front of your heart, honoring the unique self that you are. at the same time as we honor the one, the inner teacher within each of us. And with a gentle bow, head to heart, we close our practice. Namaste. Okay, thank you all. Good to see each of you. I'm glad you were here. I'm glad we got all those kinks at the beginning worked out, and I hope we got some kinks in your body worked out, or in your mind, or in your heart, right? All right, so I'll be back with Yoga Works live stream tomorrow at 1. And there is a daily rate or a member rate for that. And then on Friday, I'll be back for Facebook Live, 12:30, and also Monday. And then I'll be off for a week, starting next Wednesday to Wednesday. All right, so I'll keep reminding y'all. Good to have y'all. Namaste.